Hey everyone, how's it going? Wern here, Vaping Wern, and we're back in the year 2020. First off, Happy New Year to everybody, and also a happy Chinese New Year if you're celebrating that. I am, and I recently just got back from my Chinese New Year break. It's back to work, but you know how things go. The first few days of the year are a bit slower while everyone gets into the groove. So I decided to record a quick video to say hi to everyone that's still out there watching. Now what do I want to talk about today? I don't really have any set topics to talk about, so I thought I would just give a quick shout out to everyone who's still on this channel. I know it's been quite a while since I've done a video or something like that. Give you some updates on what's been going on in my life, and also update you in terms of what's been going on in my vape life, right? So first things first, yes, I am still vaping. So I am going back to the classics. I'm running the K-Fun Lite, the OG, no Light Plus here. I did try the K-Fun Lite 2018 or 2019, didn't really like it. Compared side to side, I still like the OG much better, and I'm running that on a Melody Box V2. This is of course a stab wood one. I don't think they come out with other versions yet, but this was from the first run of the new Melody mods, right? Running the typical Jade Ice. Like I said, you know, times have changed, but nothing really has changed. I'm still doing the OG shit, and I still think that this is a very solid vape. So yeah, you know, back to the topic. I have been out of the scene for quite a while. I think if memory serves me right, the last interaction I had was maybe a year or 2 years ago on this channel. And that really is a reflection of what's been going on in my so-called vape life as well. Vape life has been, you know, going in circles. I must admit that over the past year, I've veered away from vaping for a bit. I was running the IQOS for a couple of months. I was running the Glow when that came out too. That went on offer. I picked it up for 10 ringgit. And you know, I'll be honest, both of them just don't do it for me. If you're a smoker, then probably yeah, you know, you'll be used to it. But as a vapor, you know, if you've been following me from back in the day, you know that I've been vaping since 2013, 2014, and it takes a while to get used to that cigarette smell. Or rather, put it another way, the moment you take a IQOS, apart from IQOS, you can smell the cigarette smell very strong. I ran that for a while, but I stopped for a couple of reasons, right? The main thing is that, of course, my wife, my girlfriend back then, yeah, I got married since then, but my wife, you know, she exclaimed that, you know, it smells very strong. It smells exactly like a cigarette. And as I was going through the motions, you know, I was going through stick after stick, I realized that that smell is very prevalent. You can take a stick of IQOS, smoke it in aircon room, go out, come back in half an hour later and still smell the tobacco burning residue. It sticks to your clothes, it sticks to your hair, and it smells pretty much like a traditional cigarette. So I decided to give that up, to stop it. After running it for about 2 to 3 months, I also found that it gave me, you know, the same problems as what I was having when I was a heavy smoker. It gave me a bad cough. It gave me difficulty in terms of breathing. So I mean, as soon as that came in, I knew I had to stop, and I got rid of the IQOS from there, cold turkey straight away. But yeah, you know, since then, it's been going back to the old shit. I have dabbled around a bit with newer tanks. This is the Typhoon GT4, and I'm running that on a Danny 25. You know, I've always loved Typhoon tanks, if not more than K-Funs, and it was quite an adjustment for me to get used to this Typhoon GT4. mainly because of the size, right? So this runs at 25 mm, which is bigger than anything I've ever used. I have used a 30 mm tank back in the day. It was one of those drop call tanks, which I used with the Qi. What was that Qi? The 26650. The Megan, right? Shout out to Joe Harun, Rocket Mention. Thanks for hooking me up with the original Qi Megan back in the day. And I remember with SHAHRUL EFFENDI, we bought these huge ass Inokin tanks or something like that that used the drop-in pot, and they were horrible. They were really horrible. And that's pretty much the only 30 mm tank I used, I think. No. I used the Russian Large as well. The Russian Large was a 30 mm kind of a K-Fun rebuildable. And I also picked up the... There was one Jenny that was 30 mm. It was the Australian Jenny that was horrible. OZ22 Big Brother or something like that. Tanker 27. I think that was... Anyway, needless to say, I got rid of those pretty fast. But anyway, this is currently the biggest tank that I own right now, 25 mm. And I found that the only thing it looks nice on is really this Danny 25. If I'm not mistaken, of course, the Typhoon box, it sits really nicely on the Typhoon box, but the Typhoon box is really expensive. It's going for like 400 plus euros. That's almost 3,000 ringgit. So I'm not about ready to spend that amount of money on vape gear anymore. Let's take a quick drag from here first. Now the Typhoon GT4 is a very, very versatile tank. Right now, even though it's huge, it runs a monster alien captain inside at about, what's this, 0.6 watts. But I'm running it at 25, 0.6 ohms. I'm running it at 25 watts right now with single airflow, and even that single airflow is, open a little bit. Not really mouth to lung per se, but really in between that restricted lung hit. That's another thing that's happened since I stopped making videos. There's been so much terminology coming up. MTL, DTL, restricted MTL, blah blah blah. Fuck that. But yeah, I'm running the Typhoon on a daily, and this Danny 25 is really great because it runs on a 21700 battery. I'm running the Molly cells, right? And these are really great batteries. Even at 25 watts on a daily use, I can clock in at least 2.5 days on a full charge. I've been rotating a bit, so this has been running since probably last Sunday, right? That was when I did my last full charge. No, sorry, last Friday. That was my last full charge. And this runs really, really great. So what has been happening in my life and in my vape life? Let's start at the beginning. I think one of the obvious things that I mentioned earlier was that I got married. I've been married for 2 years now, and I'm having a very good time being a married man. Of course, being married comes along with a lot of responsibilities, and one of that is really to make sure that we're able to provide the family with a sense of security, I guess that's the right word, security. So naturally, a lot of the focus of the life has gone towards work. I've also a bit longer than 2 years. I've also been running my own company for the past 4 years. Maybe I would have said this on stream before, maybe I didn't. But I have, and running your own company is very different than working for people. A lot more time and effort goes into running a company than just doing a job, right? So a lot of my time has been there as well. I think on Instagram there might have been some pictures that I've posted from the office, so you might have seen those. I'm really not too sure, but I'll check in later on that. So that's more or less on the personal life. What's been happening on my vape life? Well, fuck. I wish I had a more exciting story to share, but the truth is that my vape life has been pretty dull. I have scaled back a lot in terms of what I've been doing as a vapor. One of those things that I've done recently is start culling my collection. I've pretty much either sold, given away, or thrown away a lot of my old stuff. And truth be told, I am not regretting that at all. And one of the reasons why is because around the time that I stopped making videos, vaping started to get very boring for me. I say that as somebody who's come from the so-called earlier days of vaping, where changes that happened were really significant. You know, I started in a day where egos, the ego vape sticks, those were the norm. I started in days where everyone was using things like a VV Nova, right? That were really just, pakai buang, use a few weeks and then you throw it away and buy a new one. I come from that era, and really the next big thing that happened from there, or the next big release that came after the VV Nova era, was the K-Fun, right? This boy right here. And living in that time where you're going from something really just passable like a VV Nova to something like the K-Fun, that was really mind-blowing. It was such a wow moment. But I feel that since then, there hasn't really been that much innovation in vaping. Sure, there have been countless new tanks, drippers, even new Jennies, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that the difference between iterations, or the newest, latest and greatest, isn't really that great in comparison to the steps that we moved before, right? So yeah, vaping to me has over time lost its appeal. I've lost the urge to chase new things because everything else just seems like a copy or slight improvement over something else. Haven't really seen something that it's so-called innovating or mind-blowing. And in fact, I've noticed that the industry is going in loops, right? I've always said that vaping is a cycle, right? We start from one point, we look like we're going to another point, but before we know it, we're going back to the same point. I think the VV Nova is a great example of a pre-built tank that was, the hot shit at the time. And then, you had advanced vapors who were using drippers. And that kind of dripper community branched out into the early squonking community, where people are using things like Rios and Vapage, the odd sort of quaint Italian squonking or bottom feeder, as we used to call them, right? And that was something that was really wow, going from using a K-Fun or even just a VV Nova to trying your first dripper. I remember the first dripper that I tried was the Nimbus. It was a Nimbus on a Nemesis, and the first puff I took, I was just mind blown, right? And that kind of gap between flavor and form factor and just the whole package was really wow. And you don't get that these days, right? But anyway, I digress. Going back to the point, we started there. I was talking about going in cycles, right? So we started there from BB Novas, pre-built tanks, to drippers, and then into rebuildable tanks, like this. Yeah, they used silica last time, right? But nonetheless, they were rebuildable tanks, yeah? And then I discovered mesh Jennies. Wow, real big shit, crisp flavor, really high learning curve, very steep learning curve, a kind of sense of elitism attached to it if you could set up a Jenny and run it in seconds or in minutes, right? And then that whole cycle started to repeat itself, right? The focus went back to rebuildable tanks because we discovered cotton, yeah? And after that, people started using cotton in drippers, and drippers became wow again. Uh, and that's where we started to see it reset itself, the industry reset itself to drop-in coils, right? You had things like the sub-tank, and the sub-tank was a wow moment as well for vaping. It was a class-defining product, right? And after the sub-tank, you saw the focus go back to drippers, go back to bigger battery mods, go back to custom mods, you know, and that's where the DNAs really blew up. That's where mainstream DNA devices really blew up, thanks to people like H-Cigar, you know, thanks to people in China that start mass producing, and thanks to Evolve that, you know, really started chasing money by going for that mass, the sort of supply model, right? And then that's where I kind of dropped off, right? Where I was in a limbo between DNA devices. I think I stopped recording videos around the DNA 40 big screen era, right? Before the 75 era, that's for sure. And that's where things just went into an infinite loop, right? You start seeing people just churning out 20 different devices or 20 different tanks that use drop-in coils, and drop-in coil brands that don't last more than 3 uses, right? Or rather 3 runs. I've seen people bring in drop-in coil tanks and not bring in enough coils to sustain the demand, knowing that before I could sell out these coils, there'll be a new style of drop-in coil tank coming out, right? So that had its own market. You saw how people based almost everything else on the K-Fun design, the 2-post kind of cotton tank. You saw how Typhoon innovated over the years as well. And then somewhere along the lines, dripping or bottom feeding became cool again, right? I guess that happened when people started making bottom feeder devices without the 14mm cup, with the 22mm cup, and that's where those things really blew up. And to me, you know, they were alright, but I didn't really go hard on squonking. Shout out to my boys in the Malaysian squonkers family, you know, Shafiq and gang. They would know how in and out of squonking I was. You know, every 3 months or so, I'd make a post in the group. Hi, this is my new device. This is my new device, and then I'll just go off the radar. So yeah, you know, squonking was something that I did partake in a bit, not something I did religiously, but something I did dabble in because of the friends I had who were there. I was hanging out with a lot of vapers who turned into modders themselves, right? Yao with the flout, you know, AMIRUL, of course, AMIRUL FARHAN with the ALAP and the ALAP 2, ALAP RM rather, you know, this device here. So yeah, you know, I did dabble in squonking for a bit as well, but truth be told, that's never been my thing, and I didn't really understand it, right? Squonking essentially turned into the battle of the plastic boxes. Again, something that I did not agree with, did not go down well with me. I loved squonking when it was really artisan, right? When I was using Lucas boxes that were handcrafted, that were really art pieces. Those were beautiful. What? What the fuck? Sorry, I don't want to say the word art, but I mean, when something is hand engraved or hand built that way, then it does hold some kind of semblance of art, but I'm definitely not one of those people that looks at mods and goes, oh, this is a piece of art, right? I actually shit on people who say that. But yeah, you know, Lucas boxes, they were cool. I was an early adopter in the 3D printed boxes as well. I picked up an octopus box. That was about the time when the Frankie was blowing up. Funny story, I actually found out about the Frankie through the pit, right? Vape pit. ages ago where we were all shitting on it, saying that what, I'm not paying 100 euros for a plastic box, without knowing that that would eventually become one of the most expensive kind of 3D printed mods uh, around, or most desirable ones, right? So I decided to pick up an octopus box instead. When people were paying thousands of dollars for Frankies, I paid 120 or 140 euros for an octopus box, which was, it was essentially the same thing, right? Yeah, but yeah, again, back to the point, you know, things have been going in circle. After the squonking sort of craze, what happened? Some crazy Russian decided that it's time to bring back mesh, and you know, they created their mesh tanks out of fucking titanium, right? You know, things like the ZZ, they retail for 1,000 euros. Fuck me. I mean, Doc Dave has been doing titanium Atties for ages, you know. He's even closed down and done clearance sales of his products, which were great, which were awesome, which were equally as collectible, right? I too did try and get onto, you know, that kind of mesh revival. I picked up the fake ZZ, or rather, you know, the ZZ kind of soul brother. This is the Thunderbolt, also made of titanium. Thunderbolt, what is this? 9.2, I think it's called, right? Made in Ukraine, made of titanium, light as a feather, uses an Ultim tank, right? Which means it doesn't crack. But fuck this one, the flavor is shit. And I'll say that because it has a huge ass wick channel. 3mm or 3.5mm, I'm not sure, somewhere there, but it's a huge channel. And again, you know, coming from the older school, I'm not used to that. I'm used to 1mm wick holes on things like the Hellfire Micro Mini or the Mini Mega, things like that, you know. I've been running the Hellfire Shorty up till fairly recently, where I decided to sell mine. I had the Pit Edition Hellfire Shorty V1, which came courtesy of a good friend, Denver. Shout out to Denver. How's it going in Singapore? You know, he passed me that unit, and I really loved it. It was great. That was the unit that came with the 0.8 on one side and the 1mm on the other side. Those were proper tight draws that had, you know, a proper wicking hole. Shout out to Brother Z. Thanks for giving me that custom-made titanium insulator, you know. Those things ran great, ran perfect. But again, you know, I had to sell off the Shorty to fund some of my work endeavors, right? You have to do what you have to do. But yeah, you know, I have tried the ZZ. You know, I think it vapes great, it vapes fine. But anyone who knows how to use mesh could probably get a similar or same result with something like the Origeni, I'm guessing, right? I had an amazing vape with the Set 22, but I only sold it because it was very difficult to refill. You had to use those needle nose kind of bottles, right, to refill it. Using something like this or your Gorilla bottles just wouldn't work. So it became too troublesome for me. Of course, there was that whole hype around VWM, you know, the next gen, great atomizer, next tiny, great atomizer. But I kind of lost interest in their stuff after that. After all, you know, center post Jennies, not really a Jenny. INX, I've been running the V2, V3 for a long time. I sold those too. And then, you know, what happened? Mesh lost its luster again, right? You do have a few crazy collectors around the world still buying ZZs for 1,000 euros a pop. But now what are we looking at in the mainstream? We're looking at cotton tanks again. Simple two-post cotton tanks, things like the Dwarf. What else? I don't even know what tank is picking up hype anymore. The VWM cotton tank picked up a lot of hype the last time I looked, but now they're going for retail. I'm not sure. RDTAs, they had their day in the sun, right? everyone who's produced a dripper also produced an RDTA version. You have the Narba, the Narba, then you have the other one. What is it? Tell me in the comments. Then you have your whole whole range of Monarchy tank, flavor tank. Everyone has a tank version of their dripper. It just became so predictable, right? To a point where when someone comes up with a dripper, it's just a matter of time before they add a tank to the bottom and call it a tanked version. To me, that was boring. I had the OG RDTA, I was running the Hellfire Raptor T for a long time. Could never really get it to work properly. Eventually, I moved on with that as well. I mean, for something that legendary, just sitting on a shelf, it's quite heartbreaking. So I decided to swap it in for another of my unicorns. Don't laugh at me for that, but I was really looking to tick off the Narda with the brass slam. I was looking to tick that off, and I managed to strike the deal with a great collector. Shout out David. And we got that through. And when I had the Narda, I knew I had to have something to run it with, so I picked up the tiny Volcano. Again, for the first few weeks, Cloud9. After that, it's just another vape device. It doesn't do it for me anymore. So I have this still. It's a shelf warmer. I have the freehand, another squonker, which is a shelf warmer. I just set it up again because I got the LF RM from AMIRUL FARHAN. Shout out to AMIRUL, shout out to KILIC, doing great things, especially with the RM. Loving it. But at the end of the day, full circle, still comes back to the old reliable K-Fun OG, K-Fun Lite OG. I actually sent out a K-Fun 3.1 to my friend Paul in the UK, but that got lost in the mail somehow. Really sorry about that, Paul. Paul is a great collector as well. He has tons of shit. Never fails to amaze me when he posts pictures of his collection. But I guess that's the story, isn't it? Vaping for me is now just about chasing back your old unicorns. I have, been lucky enough to catch some of my unicorns. I have a Champ GT with me. I managed to cop the Zoom DNA, really special piece. Upgraded it to a DNA 60 from DNA 40. But I'm looking to let this go too. I mean, that's just the story of my vape life, right? I've reached a point where new shit doesn't interest me anymore, and I'm making a mission to collect all the old school stuff that I missed out on. I guess it's like what toy collectors do, they missed out on a lot of toys in their childhood, so now when they're working, they have a bit more flexible income, they're looking to fulfill those gaps that they missed when they were kids. I think that's pretty much where I am in my vape life right now, where I don't want to spend money on new stuff anymore. I'd rather swap or sell stuff and try and get back those pieces, those core pieces that I missed out on. I don't know. Everyone has a different journey. Tell me about yours, right? Tell me about your journey in the comments, and let's see if we have any parallels there, right? So I guess I've been talking for a long time now. I've kind of covered the bases, right? Lost interest in vaping, continue vaping in the background, sold off a lot of my pieces, tried alternatives to vaping, things like IQOS, didn't work out for me, continued vaping, and pretty much now I'm just vaping the classics. I think that with that said, you kind of know what to expect from my future content. I probably won't be doing the typical kind of stuff that I used to do, unboxing or first looks or news. I mean, news about the Malaysian vape scene is a whole different video. A whole lot of stuff that I don't agree with or don't like, but we'll save that for a different day, right? Probably what I would be producing is more content about things like this, opinions, thoughts, talking head kind of things. So if this isn't the kind of stuff that you like from a vape channel, then I apologize. But if it is, please do hang around. I am looking forward to sharing a lot of my thoughts about what has been going on recently or in the past few years, not just in Malaysia but also overseas. So that could be something we can talk about as well. If you have anything else that you would like me to talk about, please do leave a comment, so at least I know, and I can prepare for this kind of material. But if it isn't, no hard feelings. Thank you for sticking around with me for such a long time. I gotta admit though, it is kind of fun getting back behind the camera. I am a bit better prepared this time. I have a clip-on mic, so hopefully the audio is a bit better now. I guess you could say that I do have a different mentality towards vaping. Pro or con, I'll let you decide that. But I think that as we grow, so do our interests and so do our priorities, right? So I think I've spoken enough for today. Let's leave some material for my next video, right? So until then, I wish you again a happy New Year and a blessed Chinese New Year. Hope that everyone stays safe, especially in these testing times. We all know what's happening around the world. In Malaysia, there's been influenza outbreak. In China, that has been the coronavirus outbreak. And Australia is recovering from the bushfires. So it hasn't really been a great start to the year. But let's all hope that the year progressively gets better. Alright? So with that, I'm going to take one last drag and sign off for today. This has been me, Vaping One, back in front of the screen in 2020. Till next time, peace out.